Let us go back and we left last time reaction, right? Stephen, can you talk briefly, right, about reaction? Can you talk more a little bit about reaction again?
Oh.
Yeah.
Okay.
What was with the reaction then? What's action? What's between right and wrong action?
We call the 5 precepts of like you shouldn't kill, you shouldn't lie, you commit adultery.
Okay. What's wrong?
Why is it wrong?
Yeah. What's wrong?
Because you cause harm to other things.
So basically, no killing, no stealing, no misconduct, no lying, no taking intoxicant, right? It's common, it's universal. But the last one, somehow, in Buddhist tradition, is really serious. Taking intoxicant. During Christmas time, or other tradition, like Christian tradition, you have no problem of drinking, right?
Was it drinking? Not
In the church, I watched one video clips that a Vietnamese Catholic priest, he challenged people, whoever answered his question correctly, they will give them a bottle, a wine bottle. It won't be I sit in this table alcohol, no way. There's no way. So, number please.
13.
Yes.
8.
8.
8, yeah.
And for the Catholic priest, Christian pastor, they can consume meat, they can eat steak and so forth. There's no way. That is the basic things what we know, right? You know why we need to stay away from them.
36.
Yes, so please pass around the table for number 9. So that's the basic one. This is universal one. That's everyone can recognize because we live in human realm, human community, a society. There's no way for us to harm others. And yeah, we be locked up in prison if we violate that universal law, right? Universal rules. This is common sense. But what happened? The last one. No drinking alcohol. No, right? In common sense too. But in Buddhism is so strict that we need to stay away from them. You know, right? When we consume them, especially during Thanksgiving holiday, Christmas holiday, New Year, what happened for the young people on the road? Right? You see that? So they intoxicate themselves too much. That's what they invoke to cars and so forth. So it's common sense. That's why people to write action again. I think it's common sense. In basic view, basic approach, no harm to others, that's all. No harm yourself and harm others. That's all. Alright, so let's move on to number 5. Right livelihood. You hear? Who's in that?
Yeah.
You have? Yeah.
Pretty much like right livelihood was living your life with right action, right speech, and all these other kind of like ethical guidelines in order to live your life by. And then pretty much you want to produce good karma for yourself and help those around you.
Yes.
And pretty much like that's why it's promoted in the Buddhist views for like becoming like a doctor, teacher, or scientist or something like that, in order to help those around you.
What about serving the army, navy? marine, and so forth. Is that right livelihood? What do you think?
I think. I mean, it depends on why you go into any profession. If you go into it with the right mindset and to be helpful and to make the world a better place, then I think it's a right livelihood. If you go into it like with the wrong mindset, like I want to hurt people, and then no. But every profession is like that. You can go into any profession with the wrong mindset or the right mindset.
Yeah, that's right. That's what we talk about life. Remember, right intention is more important. But one thing, even in any profession, even if you're a professor, teacher, doctor, or whoever you are, if you have the wrong mindset, then of course you harm others. But in some professions, even you don't want to, you still need to serve people, like in healthcare, right? You make the oath, right? Before you become a doctor or a nurse, do you have to make the oath? And how about being a teacher, professor? Yes, we have to follow some ethical rules, so forth. But in other areas, it's blurry, so it depends. So some areas, some professions so obvious, but other areas so blurry, so it depends.
I mean, there's still like a Geneva Convention that most militaries follow, rules of engagement and things to like help keep you in the right frame of mind, not to be evil.
Yeah. It's not easy when you come to that point, because when you carry a gun in the battlefield, whether you follow Geneva and so on, the rules, engagement, and so forth, but your job is to hunt down the bad guy, right? Yes?
I mean, I'm speaking from experience. Just because you carry a gun and you're part of the military and, I mean, to get the bad guys or whatever, you don't necessarily, I was accounting for 8 years in the military. I mean, I carried the weapon because I was deployed, but my mind frame wasn't kill you because you're the bad guy. My mind frame is I'm going to protect myself if I have to. So you can have that right. It is like a mindset. You know, you can still believe in other things.
Yeah.
And I think it depends too, like you said, on your job, and also, because there's a lot of humanitarian missions that go on more so than warfare deployments that people don't, I guess, realize or maybe don't take into consideration, because I have about a lot more humanitarian missions to go build schools, build houses, help people, build dams that were frozen and flooding. I did a whole lot more of that than I did like trying to go fight the enemy. Do you know what I mean? I guess it just depends on what you do with your time.
Yes. But yes.
39.
Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah, please let me know, otherwise yeah, so but somehow, yes, it's not easy to define bad guy and good guy and so forth too, right? So it depends on where you live, where you go and so forth. But this is just a blur area. But this is so obvious, right? That we're not supposed to sell drugs. Illegal drugs.
Not a pharmacy.
Yeah, of course. Yeah. And what else? No human trafficking. It's so obvious, right? Because it's harmful to other people. What else? What else? Christina, you here? No? Okay, what else? Human trafficking. What else do you think that may be harmful to other people that you may not? Now again, is any restriction or is it common sense? Common sense, yeah. Here. Fisherman. What do you think? What do you think? Sure. Yeah, hunter. Yeah, we know that. Butcher, trading poison, flesh, intoxicant, arms, so forth. This is so obvious, right? And this one we know this. So this is the again. So this is Buddhist view. Just your choice again. No one judges you except your own karma. If you create good karma, you enjoy your life. If you create somehow some kind of karma, you take it. You have to endure that. You have to handle that. But for me, most of the time it's teachers, especially young men, that unless it's necessary, right? Unless you grab like in the Vietnam War, if you have choices, right? It's better don't involve in here. You know why, right? You remember?
17.
Huh?
17.
Why? Why is that? No matter what, this is not easy because sometimes this may happen, right? This may happen, and even you or somehow you or other people surround you, we heard some story that the shooting in the base and so forth. Because when we carry around this is not a choice. If we have so much anger in our mind, and this one will be harmful to ourselves and others.
So I just have a quick question. Because I know that the military, at least the U.S. military, employs all religious practices. So how is it that a Buddhist monk can work within the military and it still follow within the guidelines of what you're talking about? You know what I mean? Because there's Judaism and Islam and Christianity and Muslim, and there's also Buddhist monks who
Yes.
work. Do you know what I mean? So
Yeah.
how is that possible?
Yeah, that's called chaplains.
Yeah, but
And at my school, there's some monks, they
because they're there
they
to
just
support
saw-
the religious faith of the
they saw-
soldiers.
they follow the armies, they
Yeah.
follow the regiments, and they serve as advisor
Yeah.
or counselor and so forth.
I mean, does that not conflict
I don't
with
know,
what you're
is this-
teaching? Sorry.
Actually, is that the right area there?
Agree.
Yeah, and the chaplain's not supposed to carry guns.
Yeah, and they don't.
Yeah.
They
You
don't.
know, right?
No, because that's why chaplains have chaplain's assistants, because the chaplain's assistant carries the gun for the chaplain in all things.
Yeah. So
They're not allowed to carry the gun.
yeah. So at least I don't know.
But I'm just curious.
I don't step into that realm, but I know probably they may judge themselves. Okay, I don't carry a gun.
Yeah,
That's all. But of course they have to wear uniform too, right?
yeah.
So that's the right area. But of course let's step out the boundary of your monkhood life already. So it's not easy. So of course, unless necessary that you have to protect the country when it's in danger and so forth, you have to protect your community and so forth. If you have options, you have choices, it's better. In my view, don't go with that. And you should tell my own story. When I was finished up my engineering degree at Penn State University, yeah, I went to have some kind of interview, and then they be up for me a job in submarine. And they trained me to be a lieutenant there. I'm sorry. I don't want to involve this guy karma. Yeah, it's not easy. And of course, some of my friends, they work for the government in Pentagon and so forth. They design the new guns, tanks, and so forth. That's their business. If they want, that's a choice. Again, that's beauty of Buddhism. That's everything is their choice. No one watch over your shoulder except your own karma. If you want to develop some kind of good karma for yourself and others, you have to choose different choices, good choices. Last time we talked about, this day back, we talked about doing some kind of investment, running a business. In Buddhism, again, there's nothing wrong to be wealthy, nothing wrong to have power. The only thing is, you know how to use them. Like, Ashoka, he's so powerful. That's why he has so many people, millions of people. If you're a billionaire like Bill Gates, you have so many people. So nothing wrong with the money, nothing wrong with the power. Not only it depends on how you interact, how you use your mindset. The right intention, wrong intention. That's all. That's a bit different. Of course, like in the other areas, sometimes you may not have choices, right? Like when you were in the army and the navy and so forth, you military, you have to follow orders. You have no choice. When there's some battle, and so you have to follow that orders. But you have a choice. It's better to pick up a good choice instead of harm yourself, harm others. It's simple. Okay. So let's move on here. So that's why right attention is so important. All right, let's move on then. So again, we don't need to judge anyone else, and that's your own choice. All right, whether it's good or bad, you use the wisdom to recognize us. All right, let's move on. Number effort here. Emily, you here? You here? Which one? You here? When you say about your effort, you are, right?
Yeah.
Oh, can you say something about your effort?
I didn't really get it. I didn't really get it. From what I got from it was you have to try.
Okay. Okay. What's again? Before we say we discuss about this, what's the difference between wrong effort and right effort? In the conventional way, what's wrong? What's right?
Yeah, I mean.
Anyone of you give me a hint? What's wrong? What's wrong effort and what's right effort there?
Intentions?
Intention? Yeah, we talk about
Actions?
Action, we talk about the effort. That's when you put some effort to do some work, right? Right? Let's say today, even we have a storm and so forth, but you have put effort to go to school. That's right effort, right? But what happened if
So
they
you have to at least try.
at least try, but try the proper way, try the right way?
Like prioritizing, like
Yeah.
picking the right things to put your efforts into. Like I should put effort in my homework, not watch TV.
Yeah. Or a Super Bowl, whichever. Or here we don't have a casino yet, right? That's good. That's especially good for them. Many people they addicted with gambling. They put effort in playing the games. Or even some young people they so addicted with the computer or internet they would not go to school. They get stuck there. So anyway, so again, you understand that we put some effort in doing the right thing, the good thing, and so forth. So what are the good things, the right thing that we need to put? In general, what do you think? School, work, families. What else? What else? Okay. Here. Can you see this? Oh, here. Basically, eliminate unwholesome karma. Whichever unwholesome karma, whatever, let's say the bad things, this is two pairs. Two pair. I will try to do. Okay, two pair. One is the first pair. If put more effort. Put more effort in. More effort in what? In doing the good deed.
Good stuff.
In the good stuff. Good deed. More effort. To good deed. A wholesome or good deed, right? If we have done, let's say during Christmas holiday, right? We used to send gift to our parents, our friends, our relatives, and so forth. We done that already. We do more, put more effort. If we have not helped the homeless, we start to do now. You understand? If we have not done any good deeds yet, we need to initiate now. That's the first pair. In opposite way, number 3, and number 4 is similar. Let's say if we get stuck with, let's say, smoking, we try to stop. If we have not smoke yet, don't try. You see that? So that's in general, that's the right effort there. Basically, is the thing that we talked last time. Desire, remember? Remember we talked about some people, they thought that, oh, as Buddhists, we cannot have any desire. It's not. We have to have the desire, or we have to put effort into do more good deed for other people. Build the school, hospital, and so forth. That's a good deed. We need to do more. Make sense? Let's put more effort into doing good deeds. We want to. We have the goal. We set the goal that we want to have more people. Is that the desire? The goal, not that the craving. But still, sometimes, let's say, if you, of course, you are a student there, you're a student here. So your goal is to get 4.0, right? For your GPA, right? Again, do you have that desire? You see the difference between, remember I told you, the goal is to have 4.0, right? And on the way, do you have that desire to get to 4.0? And when you have that desire, what happened to you? You have craving. You want to have a 4.0 for this semester, of a whole 4 years, so forth. What happened? Huh?
Suffering.
Yeah, that's the point. I told you, that's the point. No matter what, right? We put the goal. The goal is 4.0. But yes, we can try our best to study. And when you go to take a test, just try your best to take the test. Not to expect that you have we will have an A. It will be stressed you out. You see the difference? So there is putting the effort to do good deed too. Yes, we set the goal that we want to build the school, the hospital, and so forth for other people, right? But if we have so much desire, that's we bring ourselves with something too. You see the difference now, right? So again, that's just the two pair. Again, if we have done the good deed, put more effort to do. If we have not done any good deed, start it, initiate that. Is that clear? Again, if we have made some mistake, try to stop it. If we have not, don't stop it. Make sense? That's what the right effort is for. The whole math here. Have you guys read this one? I put online. No?
No, I didn't see.
Oh, okay. You look at on the blackboard. All right. So that's in general. And later on, then how about this? When you do the business, of course, later on when you do business, if you run a business, a company, do you need this one? Do you need to put more effort in running your business? Yes. Many people, they think the only thing they think is money. I remember that many years ago when they first came to the state in 1980, 84, 85, and they went to McDonald's to apply for a job there. But I failed. But anyway, I met the Japanese manager. He said, you know, I make $2 million per year. And so somehow I felt that he's so nervous. The way he talk is like he craving for money. So anyways, I didn't work on that time for McDonald's. Anyway, so again, this is the right effort. Okay, let's move on to the thing that we discussed. This is very important today. Okay, now let's start with Newton. You here? No? Can you say something about right concentration, samatha? Yes.
So samatha.
What means samatha then?
It's like it's an important mental quality.
Yes.
That's the result of meditation.
Okay. Okay. But can you define briefly what's the meaning of samatha? What's the meaning?
Tranquility.
Tranquility, yes.
Calm.
Calm. What else?
Uh, mindfulness.
That's different. Mindfulness is the last one. Yes. That's, you have to recognize the differences. Anyone?
It's where you, it's the first step of meditation.
First step of meditation? Okay.
It's the practice of calming all of your senses
Yes.
and slowing your mind down to be able to then achieve the mindfulness.
Okay.
And so it's essentially where you take control over your body to then be able to focus on your mind.
Okay. Do you remember we talked about this? What's the difference between samatha and vipassana? What's the difference? Remember? Anyone? Sarah? Who's Sarah?
That's it.
Oh, you. I'm sorry. Tiffany? Who's Tiffany here? Okay. You want to say something? Yes?
Well, from like personal experience, it's like focusing on your breath,
Okay. Okay, go ahead.
the in and out of it, and then that through that you can get to Vipassana.
Okay. So, what's the difference between samatha and vipassana? You say? Yes?
Vipassana is like mindfulness.
Okay, mindfulness. So, what's the difference between focusing and concentration for mindfulness?
Because mindfulness, you're trying to like be aware of everything around you.
And what's different?
Focusing, you're just focusing on like one object.
Oh, okay. Yes. And several, right?
Yeah. So focusing around like four.
Several. Should be this way, this side. Infinity. Anyway, so again, it's so simple. Please remember, samatha has been the ability for you to focus, to concentrate in one subject, in one object. If you drink water, you really focus on your mind water. And mindfulness, like when you walk in, you know that you're walking. When you sit in it, you know you are sitting. When you're riding, that you know when you're riding. So again, the difference is, okay, this is one object. You see one object, this is samatha, concentration. And if you move on to other, it is what's called a series of concentration. That's called mindfulness. Be mindful of things. You know that? So that's a series of concentration. That's the difference. Okay? Now, again, so we know the definition. Now, the Buddha put right concentration. What's the difference between right and wrong concentration? When we have wrong concentration? When? Yeah. Yes. For example,
I mean, you can't go into a practice already having your mind in the wrong place or to be thinking of your desires when you go into your meditation, because otherwise you'll never be able to focus. You'll still have the monkey mind.
you may not have much monkey mind, but you really focus on, let's say, when you play, when you do the gambling, right? You really focus on the card, right? Or even when you go out to hunt, you really focus on the animals. But of course, it's harmful. That's why it's wrong. Mindfulness is concentration. That's what we call right concentration. And one more thing, before I move on, how about this? Okay, how about I will come back. How about go down to here? Let's move on to again. What is this, you know the mindfulness, right? Have Emily here? Yeah. Oh yeah. What does this mean by dry mindfulness? And you know, mindfulness is serious concentration. Wherever your mind moves, you recognize us. So what is the right mindfulness then? Yeah, what's can you give one example of right mindfulness instead of wrong mindfulness?
I guess an example of right mindfulness is if you have a situation that's bothering you, being able to concentrate on it and able to make a decision about it without outside influences.
Okay. Okay. Anyone? William here? Han? What do you say? Can you give one example of right mindfulness? You know, mindfulness is a series of concentration. So what is right mindfulness then? Give one example.
Right mindfulness?
Mm-hmm.
Can't remember one right now.
What's your name? Evan? Oh, no, she's not. Ethan is here? Oh, you were. Who's here? Ethan, right? Yes? Can you give one example of right mindfulness instead of wrong mindfulness?
So it's like you, after you do the samatha to like concentrate and like kind of like mellow out, kind of, you then focus on self-realization instead of ignorance. So like you kind of focus on like other things other than yourself.
In general, yes.
Oh, in general.
You try to like look at things as how they are.
Okay.
Like,
no, I'm talking about right mindfulness instead of wrong mindfulness.
oh,
Can you give one example, one practical example, one religious example? Yes?
Mindfulness is focusing on series of things. So
Yes, your concentration.
wrong, I would guess like focusing on like bills and other things that taking your concentration away.
No, you still concentrate. You still
You're still
concentrate your
concentrating.
mind, but in the wrong place.
Sex. Concentrating on sex.
Yes?
Right mindfulness, like you take consideration of others' feeling, of others' feeling, like recognize
Okay. What else?
Is it understanding that if your mind wanders to get it back on track again?
Yes, but I want you guys to give me some example for the differences between wrong mindfulness and right mindfulness. We know wrong concentration and right concentration, right? When someone feels focused on drinking, right? That's wrong. Yes?
But it'd be like right mindfulness, if someone yells at you feeling like, oh, maybe they're going to do something, thinking about like the positive, and wrong mindfulness is, oh, they're a terrible person, this is how they're a terrible person.
Almost close. Yes, almost there. It's similar to this one. It's similar. It's not much different. Yes?
it would be like focusing on the happy things instead of focusing on.
Okay, let me give you one quick one again. Like Hunter. He really focused on how he used his gun, how he armed his gun to the deer or whichever armor was there. So that's a serious concentration. Is that right? So this is mindful with his gun, with his animals, with his food and so forth. But of course, even this mindful, but it's wrong, it's harmful. Make sense? You understand that? So in the right one is the opposite way. As you focus your mind on things that can be helpful for yourself and others. It makes sense? Okay? So let me move on to show you short video clips before we go to, let's see here. I think I'd like to show you first this one here. Have you read this article? I think, here, this object, you hear, and through your eyes, you smell, tongue, body, so forth, you see things, you feel things. And I remember, most of us use Apple now, right? Some used to use PC. You do, for Apple, we don't need to do this one, right? So you understand?
The deep drive, yeah.
Yeah.
I understand.
So there's the mind. It's a confused state. This is one here. You see, not much different. when we confuse, all kind of things happen into our mind. So they don't become our mind. See that we fragment our mind, and we have that stability in our mind there. And here, the science around the mindfulness here is now more than 2,000 articles and so forth. Every newspaper, one newspaper talk about the benefit of mindfulness per day. There's one number 8 then. Okay, so remember, so we know, right? That's the A4 part. So before we move on, let me summarize for you guys to see, and we can come back later on this one here. You know this? You guys notice this? You don't know? Remember that?
Yeah.
Look at this.
Oh. The same thing with the North Korea.
Is it his mindful? Right? And what happened? That's right. It happened to most of us too. Yes. Now this is a lot. I can put this here up to you to see. As it what called right mindfulness. We talk about for foundation of mindfulness. Here we don't have much time, but in my Buddhist meditation next semester I will talk in depth about this thing. And this is the right concentration. This is mainly, and we talk about the jhana today too. Okay. This is the whole spectrum of the Buddhist teaching, the Four Noble Truths, and so forth. All right, let's move on to number 8 then. Okay, let's okay, number 8. Before I show you the video clips. All right, so Jack, Hannah, Stephanie, you want to talk about how can you deal with mental affliction? One more thing before I ask you. When you write again in your response, please cite some sources. Of course, sometimes you can input your insight, your opinions, but in your writing, please cite at least one source. All right, so that you can learn more. Stephanie, you right? Can you tell something about how mindfulness can help people in dealing with mental affliction, stress, anxiety, depression, and so forth? How?
Because sometimes people get.
Okay.
Because sometimes being mindful can make us more aware of ourselves and our surroundings, so we can effectively channel our anger or like our stress into something more like productive, rather than just like being angry at something and just like swallowing away.
Let's say when you walk into the room to take a test, you're so anxious, you're so nervous. How can you be aware of that? Sometimes you shake it too. Sometimes, right? So how could you handle that? You try to do that. You try to run away or what? How can you control that type of anxiety when you're ready to take the test? Especially multiple choice, right? Sometimes because you're so nervous, right? You pick up the right question, the so-called right question, but later on you worry too much and you circle the wrong question, right? So how could we control that? How could we transform that anxiety? Deep breath. Probably at that time it may be too late. Is that right? Yeah, it might be stress. Too late. If you're not prepared, if you don't prepare yourself before the test, before interview, before any kind of presentation and so forth, or any special event, special event and so forth. Don't wait until that moment. It's not easy. You know how? Joseph's here. Death, how can you handle that? How can you handle your anxiety and so forth? With that type of situation, what yourself? How?
For me, if I'm feeling anxious, I always take a moment to take a deep breath in, and I focus on what's important now rather than what's going to happen in the future or what has happened in the past.
One thing I want to remind you, especially, and this is my own experience too. When we was in college, sometimes I really focus on the question, and somehow I could solve the problems without thinking. This happen to you sometimes? The more you think, the more mess up you may have, right? But if you use your intuition, your professor may give you some kind of tricky question, right? But you use intuition. Oh, this is the way I solve problems. You may not find any solution the most, but this comes from here, from your intuition. But if you analyze, somehow, sometimes you're out of you step out of the border and you may get lost. You may get lost in the track. That's why intuition is so important. If you let your anxiety, stress, and so forth invade your mind, you will mess up, especially multiple choice. That's why I know my own experience. That's why for me, I don't want to give you more stresses. And I just let you to write the written response and paper, so you have more time to prepare. So at the beginning of the semester, I told you, please don't wait for the last moment. Don't wait for last week. Don't wait for last month. Start from now. How about you guys have the topic in your mind yet? Or final paper or final presentation yet? You have in your mind what you have in your mind? Okay.
Okay, well, I will rethink mine.
Okay.
I was gonna do meditation, but
It's okay. You have it in your mind yet? No. Be ready, please. How are you? How you have? No.
I'm good.
No. You have topic? Wow. What? We have it. Be ready. Okay. So now it's February, so don't wait. Yes.
When is the field trip going to be?
Oh, March the 19th.
March the 19th?
So is it about is it 1 month from now? Right? So,
Is that the actual, when is the actual paper due for
the
field trip?
field trip is I think 22nd of March. Anyone else in the back there? Yes, you have topic in your mind?
Oh, I was just wondering, what was the whole criteria about? Like, what are you supposed to write about? Is it on the syllabus?
Your final
Yeah, is
paper?
it just like about anything pertaining to
Anything
Buddhism?
that relates to Buddhism.
Oh.
Yeah, I give you plenty of choices
Oh.
throughout. Yeah, you don't need to limit anything. Anything that's related to Buddhism. Even you can, some of my students write a paper to compare Buddhism and Christianity, but it's a little bit out of the boundary, but it's better. Let's say you can write anything. Buddhism and healthcare, and psychology, whichever you like. I don't limit that. So that's why I give you more choices. Instead of give you multiple choices and get stuff with them. Because I give you more choices and your mind will be more open, more receiving and learning. Make sense? Vegan, right?
Yes.
Okay. So I hope that you cherish that lesson. What's the number?
27?
Okay. So again, we have 27, 28 good respondents, and I think you can read whichever subject you like. To think about and be ready, okay? All right, let's come back here. So, let's see. Michelle, how about Ethan? Want to say something about how you deal with your stress? You working now?
Not, I work over in some ways. I work in some ways.
Okay. Yeah, so how can you deal with the school stress then?
YouTube?
Huh?
YouTube?
What's that?
YouTube?
YouTube?
Yeah.
Oh really?
I
You
have
watch
like-
movies?
Like 3 videos that always make me laugh.
Oh really? Okay. Cartoon or comedies?
Comedies.
Oh really? Yeah, okay. Who else? Tiffany? You here, right? Or you-
What do I do?
Huh?
What do I do?
What's that?
Like, what do I do?
What do you do when you're so stressed out, when you're so anxious of things, so take before getting a test, you have a job?
Yeah.
How can you deal? How can you balance your study at school and your work?
Well, if I'm like stressed or like upset or something, like I usually go to the gym and like work out.
Exercise, right?
Yeah, what's up on my mind. Or like if I have anxiety, I'll just kind of take a moment to like step back and like kind of calm down a little bit and realize like where I'm at and like what I need to do.
And sometimes if you're so stressed out, you need your body, right? You need your friends to dump all your garbage to them, right? And vice versa. What happens if your friends call you and you know that they're ready to dump their mental garbage to you? Can you handle that? Sometimes you can, sometimes you may not, right? So that's why if you don't know how to handle your mind, it's not easy when you deal with other people. Complain, and complain. Is that right? At work, if your supervisor, manager, at home, if your mom, right? If even your brother or sister or your friend, so forth. Especially the one who could not know how to handle their mind, most of the time they have negative thought, right? Negative views of life. It's not easy to do. So how could you overcome? How could you, let's can say, recycle that kind of mental garbage, even from your own and from others? How can you deal with that? How? Anyone?
You have to have a channel.
Huh?
You have to have a channel of some sort. So like, when I was in the Army, I used to brief or escort like general officers all the time. And that was a big point of anxiety for a lot of people because nobody wanted to deal with them because a lot of different reasons. But I had like a chant, so I prepared, I always prepared. And then I would just chant to myself kind of beforehand that I'm calm, cool, and collected, and I'm confident, and I'm professional, and everything is gonna be fine. And I would just kind of like go over that in my head before, and so every time, I had never had an issue every time. And I could stand up in front of a group of people who way outranked me and discuss professional material with them, and everyone was always impressed that I did not stutter or get nervous, and you can still come across as someone knowledgeable within your field. I think if you prepare and then tell yourself that you're prepared and to trust yourself.
Yeah, this is important. Now please listen. This one is important. I'd like to remind you. Here's the A4 part that the Buddha laid out. It's like a scheme plan to build our own house, own mindset in the right way. Here, for the ethical behavior, right? Yeah, we have to have the wise action, right? Like we cannot kill, we stay away from killing, stealing, and so forth. And when we talk with other people, we have to have this pleasant word and so forth. And but without the wisdom, without the right intention, remember we talked about that? There's no way. It's not easy. It's not easy for you to handle this kind of ethical behavior. Let's say when you go out with your friends, let's say in summer, whenever spring break, when one of your friends invite you to go to the forest, right? He doesn't know anything about, he doesn't care much about killing. He just invite you to go to the forest to hunt some deer or whichever. You understand that? And but if you dare, if you go with them, right? Can you stay away from not participate in that kind of games? It's not easy. Or even sometimes when your friends invite you to go to their birthday party or whichever party, or private party, whichever you call, right? And then they give you a bottle of wine, alcohol, and so forth. How can you handle that? How can you handle that? Does this happen? Drink it, and you drunk, and you may have your own trouble. Right? So it's not easy. So it's better to be prepared for yourself. Don't get stuck in any kind of situation. You have to know where you want to. Otherwise, when you're there, there's no way out. And plus, you have to associate or know your friends well, or you may tell them ahead of time, no, I can go with you, but I can't so forth. I cannot drink and so forth. That's your own preparation. But one thing I want to point again, without this training, this is not easy to keep up with your right intention. You may forget, is that right? When you have so much fun at the party, when so many people come and you see all friends around, is that right? There's no way for you to control yourself. You understand that? Another time, they encourage you to drink one bottle, 2 bottles, 3, 4, and you're done. You could make it up to 3? Okay. Oh, it depends. So again, you have to have some kind of mind training. It's not easy, like you told you, right? Don't wait till the moment that you're taking the test to take a deep breath. It's too late. It's too late. You have to do at home, or do every day, or at least once per day, whichever way you want to, so that you have that tools available. So that whenever things happen, you know how to handle, right? In our tradition, we say that don't wait until you're thirsty to dig your well. You have to find your own water first. Don't wait for last moment. Yes?
I think one of the best techniques that I learned last year was the visual of the shower. So every day, whatever you receive, you can visualize it leaving, going through your body. So if it affects your health, if it affects your physical, self, your mental self, all of it goes down into the drain. So every day, at the end of the day, whether in the shower or just inside home or something, I can do that, and it just washes everything that may have negatively affected me, and it doesn't carry on to the next day.
Yeah, let's go, right?
Yeah, you let it all just go to the bottom.
Yeah, thank you. That's good. So again, the training is so important. Without the training, there's no way for you to have the right mindset, the right heart. And if you don't have the right heart, right mindset, what will happen? You mess up. Even you know it's wrong, but still you cannot control. Is that right? Sometimes the situation that you know, sometimes it's wrong, but sometimes you couldn't control the situation, but even control yourself too. So that's why my training is so important, that you have that type of determination to stick with your will, to stick with your rules or your path. Otherwise, you may be persuaded easily by people. Like I told you, I listened once on homeless people downtown Houston, and many people say, well, why we need to care about them? They drug dealer, they play around with drugs, or so forth and so forth. For me, no matter what they do, I just try to help when they're hungry, or just step out to help, that's all. There is no question. I don't want to put in question. If I help them in everyday basis, if I want them to have a job and so forth, there's a different story. But just help them once in a while, that's all. If we calculate, if we analyze this, there's no way for us to do things in the right way. But the point is that you have to have a stability, focus, concentration, or determination to do things. Otherwise, other people may sway you away, may convince you to do other around. So that's why it's so important for the right mindset. Let me show you one video clip before we come back, okay? This one is I used to show to my students.
That is simple but very powerful, a tool for achieving what you want in life. There is a new report finding 30% of us now are turning to alternative treatments, especially meditation. And Dan Harris asked the questions about the growing proof that that works.
Meditation, once considered supremely flaky, is now being used by the Marines, by corporate executives from General Mills to Target to Google, by students in classrooms all over America, and now, according to this new study, by roughly 3 million patients on the recommendation of their doctors.
We weren't expecting to see such a high rate of referrals. That was really surprising to us.
Dr. Rex Hoffman recommended meditation to his patient, Danilo Ramirez, who had stage 2 lymphoma and was too claustrophobic to endure the treatments, which required wearing this large radiation mask. It worked.
It was beautiful that my mind was able to control my heartbeat, my breathing, my relaxation.
I see us using it more and more with our patients.
The awareness of the breath.
Researchers say meditation doesn't just relax you, it can physically change your brain. Earlier this year, a Harvard study looked at people who took a mere 8-week course in meditation and found that these two parts of their brains associated with self-awareness and compassion actually grew, while this part associated with stress shrank.
There are lots of different kinds of meditation, but the kind most doctors recommend does not involve wearing robes, chanting, lighting incense, or joining a religious group. What it does involve is 3 very basic steps. Step number 1, sit comfortably. Step number 2, focus on your breath. Feel it going in and out. Step number 3, when your mind wanders, which it will a million times, to things like, did I feed the dog? Where are my keys? And what am I having for dinner? Every time your mind wanders, just gently return to your breath.
I've interviewed corporate executives who say meditation has made them more focused and effective. And one rock star who says it cured his stage fright.
If I wasn't meditating, if I still had so much stage fright, I might still be in my shell.
That's a pretty big change. So those people who had the good part of their brain plumped up. How long did they meditate a day?
Just 30 minutes a day. And there's some indication that if you do less, it will still work. And there's also all sorts of fascinating studies that show that meditation can reduce your blood pressure, boost your immune system, and even make you nicer.
Nicer.
My wife.
Simple, but very powerful.
Here, at home, you can watch this video clip from BBC News. Mindfulness transform and change your brain, change your boost your brain in the positive way. So it's now here. Even me too. Before I devote myself as a monk, I had some kind of mindfulness meditation experience. Without that kind of practice, I would not dedicate my life as a monk. I feel that Buddhism is so practical in this sense that you have the tools there to transform your mind. You don't need to rely on anyone else, and as much as you know the tools, you know you have that GPS or map to go there. It's so useful, and nowadays it's so practical everywhere, especially on the campus, or when you take a test, when you go to school, and so forth, and when you go to work, like when you drive in the car, especially when it's raining, if you're not mindful, what happens? Right? If you always speed, especially when it's raining, it's so slippery, you may, especially in this Houston, right? There's so many cars, you may walk in some car accident. So let's move on. Describes how mindfulness can be applied in education. Julia, is there something?
It can help with test taking, reducing anxiety, tests, and it can also help with improving your grades because your memory is better. You're able to retain the information because your concentration is better while you're learning.
Before you guys came to this class, how many of you have done some kind of meditation? Oh, some of you. How long? How long? How long do you do? Is it every day or once in a while?
I don't do every day. Probably, I would say, like 1 or 2 times a week. But I've taken, like, mindful meditation is something that we do at our religious practice.
You done that?
Usually it's just through my yoga classes.
I try to meditate often, not really.
Anyone else? You do 1 hour, 2 hours per day?
Maybe.
You how long?
At least 4 times a day.
How long? 20 hours.
At least 5, depending, because I do it before work.
You see that if we have some kind of calmness, right, in our minds, we have that kind of stability to know what we're supposed to do, what we're supposed to say, right? Because every stuff from the mind is so important. Okay, and let me show you this one before we move on to. Okay, so here, mind to respond, control the difficulties, clear awareness, acceptance, let go. I think in the shower, and you mentioned this there, otherwise you avoid loss of action, elimination, confrontation. And that's what here, that's what I talk about samatha, vipassana here. But to still the mind, to concentrate the mind about the object, right? So I skip this one and come back later on. Here and now, just here. Here is mindfulness practice, emotional proximity, attention, continuity, non-judgmental awareness. Now, let me ask you, when we deal with our non-judgmental awareness, let's say when you do the test, math test, physics, science, whichever, your teacher, your professor, give you a list of multiple choice. If you don't judge the question, how could you answer? If you don't analyze the question, how could you answer that? Huh? What's that? You can't. You can't. So that is not applicable? What do you think? That's a tricky question too. I told you. Sometimes when you learn, let's say when you learn some math, chemistry formulas already, right? And you use that knowledge to recognize things. But like never told you, sometimes if you use your intuition, it may be quicker, right? It may be clearer. So it depends upon the situation too, right? I can build awareness, I can flexibility, and so forth. Here, can you see? On purpose, pay attention in the present. Why is in the present so important? What happened in the past? We know what happened in the future. Yeah, worrying for the future. Right in the past, you get lost of the present. Especially here, in the class. When you come to class, pay attention, you learn more. And when you step out, you know. Otherwise, you may not recognize what we discuss about much. Here, this is like the wave of our brain, and eventually it become a single point. This one here. Beings here. When you enter the state of mind, I mean that meditation is no object, past meditation after so forth. So that's up there. So we know the benefit, right? Increase the stress and so forth. Okay. Present, calm, clarity, creativity, serenity, and so forth. So this is the now here in education, 20% fewer class absent, improve score, validate attention skill, 50% fewer rules instruction, and so forth. This is the have done research here. Look, and even I used to guide the little children 1 minute at a time. Listen enough for them, and even for beginner too. And nowadays, they may provide some kind of mindfulness education at Harvard or big university. Okay, the next one. Okay, healthcare. Julian. Yes. How meditation been applied in healthcare, like hospital and so forth.
So what I had read was first people have to understand how being mindful will be helpful to them, and to be virtuous and to apply meditation. And those three things will help people to realize that what you're thinking about or what you're dwelling on, what it really is, and it helps you to relax yourself and to also not dwell on the fact of whatever your ailment may be. And instead, it creates more positivity and understanding and within the overall wisdom.
Who's the people?
That was pretty.
Oh, can you have the side your names, please? Yes?
I also wrote about, so mindfulness with, there's been research done on several different things like chronic pain, IBS, anorexia nervosa, and stuff like that. But I also wrote about how it can be on the flip side, where it's nurses and doctors, because those are pretty high stress occupations, and mindfulness can allow you to really focus on one thing at a time, one task at a time, or if you're with patients, it can allow you to really kind of cherish that time with them, actually truly listen to them, and have a kind of relationship with the patient.
Jessica? Yes, want to say something about you made something you meditate or no? Oh, okay. Yeah.
But mostly I would stress
So we know that, right? When we so stressed out, when so anxious, can you enjoy your food? It may affect your body, right? It may affect your stomach, right? Your organs, your thought. So that's why this is come from the mind. I used to tell a story that this one gentleman, past few years, he worked with his wife in the nail salon shop, and one day he told his wife to call 911. Yes, they came. The ambulance came and brought him to the hospital, to the ER. And somehow they checked him out, everything, there's nothing wrong with him. And later on, the doctor found out that he's stressed so much that he thought that he has heart attack. Because his father passed away of heart attack. That's why when he's so stressed out, he thought that he had heart attack. But when he went there, what's wrong with his body? Especially, I think everyone, every level is of profession, and everyone has that problem too, young or old, male, female, right? And you know how to handle the mind is not easy, especially the elderly people, because when they don't have any problem with their body, but they worry too much about their families, about their children, and so forth. They thought that they're sick, but actually they have mental sickness, not the body, not much with the body. So that's why when you calm your mind, you reduce one layer of softness. Of course, having the body, we cannot stay away, we cannot prevent from having some kind of illness, right? But at least if we can handle our mind, it's much better. And even for the doctor too. What happens when you walk into the office, when you walk into the clinic, and if the doctor or the nurse is so cold, or they don't care much about patient, would you dare to come back to see them again? No way. Right? They have to be compassionate. They have to be mindful with your illness. Yeah. With you. So that's why it is so important that you have to have the kind of mindset in here. Mindfulness. So mindfulness, it can help you to reduce the empathy, reduce stress, anxiety, less burnout. You know, being a doctor or a nurse who been working hard for a clinic before, it's so stressful, right? Right. Sometimes you may feel burned out because you have to see many patients per day. So this could be helpful. Again, don't wait for last moment, the moment that they dump all the mental garbage to you, or you have to handle things. Benefit, patient. Okay. So it's like medicine. It's like medicine too. Okay, the next one. Oh, I'm sorry, I skipped you, Jessica. Oh, sorry. Number 4. Chan, you want to say something about business and business?
We already talked, like you said before, it's just being compassionate and like being mindful about how you know, utilize your assets and all that other stuff. And just what I don't know, just do that through being mindful. You can like make a profit and also be helpful to society.
Yes, when you do business, you want to get profit, right? Otherwise you in the negative side, you may fall bankruptcy, right? But if you set your goal in the material way, right? You stretch yourself out, you stretch your employees out too. So that's why when you help others, they will help you. And let me show you one brief, quick video clips, and you can go.
Joining us now from DC, and we're talking about mindfulness. What is it? How is it influencing the business community? Hi, Dr. Woody. Good to see you in the new location.
It's good to see you from afar. How are you?
Very good. What is mindfulness? I think yoga teacher, some eccentric celebrity. What exactly is it?
Yeah, I think typically when we talk about mindfulness, it conjures these images of Tibetan monks climbing hills or celebrities in yoga pants praying to the sun. But the reality is it's more than that, it's more practical than that. It's really the art and science of focusing your mind, instilling your mind to the point where you can focus and be present in the moment and focus on the task at hand and not be distracted. So that's kind of the general idea behind it.
So it's basically yoga at work, not to equate mindfulness with yoga, but it's silencing the loudness around you, fueling your brain, and reducing stress.
Yeah, and a lot of times people associate mindful practice with meditation, which can be as simple as breathing exercises, because one of the challenges as Americans, typically, we're very shallow breathers. So if you take the time to do at least 5 minutes a day of deep breathing, the science behind that is you actually get more oxygen to your brain and you can function better. You wouldn't want to have a more optimized brain.
I agree. Couldn't agree more. I am a yogi. Okay, anyway, Dr. Woody, how is all this influencing businesses?
Yeah, one thing is that I think the business community is finally starting to embrace the fact that we need to be more present in the moment and we need to disabuse ourselves of the idea of multitasking, because multitasking is really the enemy of focus, because we do too many things, we don't prioritize, and we're not focused, and we don't optimize, I think, our mental capacity. So what's so important is, right now, even business schools, like the Columbia Business School, actually teach mindfulness and meditation practice to their students, to MBA students, because it's critical. If you're going to make smart decisions and you're going to lead people, you have to be aware of yourself and how you project yourself to others.
And you also need to, at some point, establish work-life balance, because, we work to live. We don't live to work all the time.
Yeah, and I always say it's really about the right kind of blend, because at the end of the day, we're not going to get rid of these things. They're always going to haunt us and chase us around. But if you figure out how to blend the practice into your everyday life, and a great example, I recently chatted with Hamid Moghadam, who's the CEO and founder of Prologis, a large industrial development company, and he meditates at 2 in the afternoon every day. Closes his door, it takes about 15 minutes, and that's a way to blend it into your day, because he knows he needs to be at his best, and he needs to still his mind from all the confusion around him a lot of times to make those tough, smart decisions.
Dr. Woody, thank you so much.
Okay, all right, so thank you.